Hi, my name is David Clode, and I'm the director of Ronel.
Hi, I'm Grace Ault, and I'm the producer of Ronel.
Hi, I'm Martinique Thorpe, and I'm the co-producer of Ronel,
And you're listening to
the Us People podcast
with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled to have three beautiful people here with me. They're from the Arts University of Bournemouth, and they're here to promote their film documentary. I have Grace here, who is a producer, Martinique here, who is a co-producer, and I have David here, who is a director. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you today?
Yeah, we're
I'm
good. Thank you
look
for
at
having us.
Listen, guys. So let's talk, guys. My first question for you, and I love to ask this question to absolutely everybody who comes on the show, is could you each tell me a little bit about yourselves, how you got influenced to do what you're doing today, and how you all met each other as well, because I think that'd be a cool story to tell.
Yeah, I'll go first. I was sort of born and raised sort of northwest of London, near like Watford way. So I'm from Chorleywood, and for me, I sort of got into the creative world of things through my music, and I did a lot of acting and singing and dancing when I was younger. So for me, it was about, showing and expressing my way sort of through that medium. And eventually I got into photography and finally into film. But I've always sort of had that sort of musical element to my work, or to my understanding of creativity as an outlet for me. So yeah, I moved down to Bournemouth and started studying film. And through coming here, I sort of realized that I had a sort of a love for documentary filmmaking, which I never really thought that I'd be interested in. And I thought I'd be sort of a DOP kind of cinematographer, director, filmmaker. And I've completely changed and been a documentary filmmaker and sound designer. So not at all what I first thought, but I'm loving it. I'm loving every moment of it. So yeah.
Cool. Who's next on my list?
So I'm Grace. I am from Essex, Brentwood. I've lived here pretty much all my life. When I was younger, I was fascinated by Disney movies, of course, when you're a kid. So I originally wanted to do animation because I was really into my drawing, like into my art. And my aunt, she's the same as well. So I kind of wanted to follow in her footsteps. So I studied animation at college. I kind of realised it wasn't for me, which was such a surreal feeling, because in my head I was like, I'm doing animation, that's it, all I want to do. Like, I want to work at Disney and stuff. But yeah, it kind of, same as David, kind of made me realise really what I wanted to do. So then when applying for universities, I was like, I still want to be in the film industry. I still want to be able to experience making films, because I've always been fascinated by it. So yeah, I applied to Arts University of Bournemouth 4 years ago now. And yeah, I was same as David, really. You kind of just grow into it. Like, I was the same. I wanted to go into directing and possibly camera. And then I realised that I love producing and organising films, and especially documentaries. That was one of the things that I knew I loved watching them, but I didn't realise how amazing it was to make them as well, and to really have stories that are so interesting, and so stories that just need to be told, and having the platform to do that. And especially for Ronel, our documentary is such an amazing story that could not everyone would be able to hear it until we put it out there. So it's, I'm really happy to be working on it, and it's something that will help me in the future, I hope, to get into the industry and have all this practice behind me. So film is definitely, I love it, and I can't see myself doing anything else. Like it is like a life plan, if you'd like to say it like that, maybe.
To me.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, I'm Martinique. I am from the south of England in a little tiny town where I was very much an odd theatre kid growing up. Whole family were in the art, did art. My mum's a photographer, my brother's a musician, and I never really found my place because I tried to be an actor, but didn't really like being in front of the camera that much. And I've done theatre my whole life, like David. It's how we bonded over theatre and dance. And I did photography, I've done textiles, did visual effects, stunt work, and I just kind of found myself coming to this uni where we're allowed to explore all different parts of filmmaking, and documentary was something I wasn't really thinking about ever. And I wasn't in the class till this year. I was a production designer making sets and kind of doing that side of it and directing fiction films. And when you get told powerful stories which aren't dramatized in the way that fiction films do, like biopics and that, it was quite interesting to see it like in its raw form and like learning about the human expression. So that's kind of why I joined the film, because it's such a great story. And I've known these guys since the beginning of uni. We've been in the same class for 4 years and
Cool.
never fully worked together. And so it's quite a fun experience having to work together now. Yeah.
That sounds good to me, guys. What about your influences? What people in your life? Because I think this is extremely important. I know some of you said your aunties and parents and so on and so forth, but who has really influenced you and pushed you and given you that support where you feel like this is something that I want to do because I have that support behind me? Are there anybody that you would like to mention who has helped your creative mind expand to where it is today?
Yeah, I would say there are two people that I really sort of think of. There's one is my granddad, who very much had a big focus on supporting us, not just creatively, but also in our education and schooling and stuff. And so much of his time and money and effort was put into supporting me and my sister. He helped me buy my first camera, and sort of was really encouraging and supporting me in all my sort of creative endeavors, which was really, really helpful. And his softness and kindness was something that I sort of carry into my style of filmmaking, which is very human oriented and sort of human experience, and focuses on that softer, more sort of subtle nuance of human life.
Yeah.
And that was something that was distilled in me through him. And also my sort of creative support was, my music teacher, Miss Stevens, who encouraged me and drew me out into lots of different like ensemble groups and things. I was in orchestras and choirs, and we toured all over the sort of the world and did some amazing singing and choir stuff, which just helped build my confidence when I was quite young, and made me do something as crazy as trying to make a documentary about forgiveness, which is cool. So something I never would have thought I'd be doing, but without that support, I don't think I would be here. That's the main thing.
What about the rest of you guys?
I don't think I can go after David. That was just so sweet. No, yeah, my family support me like so much. As I mentioned earlier, my aunt Tony, she because I have quite a lot of aunt and uncles, we have quite a big family. But yeah, she's really creative. She is a pattern designer and she lives in LA. So I just look up to her so much, and I always have, because she's really, really creative and really just artistic. And as much as I love my other aunts and uncles, like she's just like, she stands out. They're, you know, they all have their unique thing, but I follow her. But yeah, my dad actually has been an influence as well. Like he is always showing me films from such a young age. We've always watched really good films together, like all the classics. His favourite is Wizard of Oz, just to embarrass him. When he was a kid, he loved that film.
That.
So like that's a proper classic. He's showed me all the good ones, and I'm just trying to think of ones he's shown me recently. But we always watch documentaries together, or we always watch, like recently on the TV. There's been one of how these films were made, like Back to the Future and stuff like that. Love Back to the Future. Like that is like one of the few films that me and my dad always watch. So I think that has definitely unconsciously impacted me as well, because he'll always just put a really good film on, or always just show me something, and I think I'm like, oh yeah, these are really cool, and or we want to see how they're made, and yeah, that makes me want to make films and be behind the camera and see everything. And then my mum, bless her, she's always amazed by everything we do when I show her like photos of like our sets and what we have to do and all the hard work we put in, and she's just amazed by it and just like roots for us all the way and just always there to cheer us on. Basically, it's really sweet. So yeah, I think it's nice to have people, you know, you're just there for you, because it's you know, it's kind of a risky business, because you need to, at our age anyway, get into these roles where we're kind of helping out and we've got like low pay, and you know, sometimes it's not, you know, always worth it, but to get to something we want to do, we have to do those things, and having family and friends that support you just makes it even more worthwhile. So yeah,
Definitely.
Now everything I'm going to say. Oh God, everything I'm going to say is going to sound so unsincere now, like when you get a present and when you say thank you and it just doesn't sound right. Oh no.
You're just as important as the rest.
Yeah,
I know, but it's just that they say stuff and you're like, oh, I was going to say that. Oh no.
Oh, sorry.
Right. And, I'm like, oh God. Well, I've grown up. It was just me, my mum, and my brother growing up. My dad left when I was young, so like being a single parent family, she really gave up any of her own time to help me and my brother kind of explore our creativity, which is something that I don't understand how she could do it. I'm not that selfless. I'm very much a selfish person when it comes to like my own happiness. And she showed us films, she took us to auditions, she gave us everything. We had to learn musical instruments in our house. It was a rule. We had to like find our favorite hobby. It was kind of such a creative upbringing that it kind of just got engraved into me that, oh, be creative is a good way to express yourself, because I think half my family is Lebanese, so I can't speak Arabic. I can barely speak English most of the time. My brain just doesn't comprehend it. The best way we can communicate is through like films and art, and it's kind of an escape as well, with especially in like society now and everyone in the pandemic, kind of escaping our reality and watching someone else's has always inspired me and helped me throughout my whole life. And I had like a few teachers, one teacher who was the most creative and inspiring man. It's called Mr. Douglas, Alistair Douglas. I'm going to call him out on a podcast. He's going to get mad at me. But he was my year 5 teacher, and he challenged my creativity constantly. And it's kind of something I want to keep doing. He would make me read Frankenstein in year 5 when I could barely read a normal book, and kind of make me look at the world differently. And same with all my dance teachers, like Miss Eva and Rachel, and they were all such great people. And it kind of having that support system, and same with our lecturers, they kind of push you to be creative and push you to be independent and unique. And I think that's the only way we can stand out in the industry right now, is there's so many of us, so many passionate people, but having your own voice and being able to give other people voices is quite an interesting thing to do. Yeah.
From all of you, I don't even know what to say after that.
Teachers are amazing people.
Yeah,
they are.
Inspire and push you. It's incredible.
Especially
My
our
all the time.
lecturers.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
teacher, her name was Peak. She had the highest voice ever, but I was always in trouble. But she would always, yeah, I was, but always kind of take me out of the classroom and make me stay longer than everybody else to teach me how to play the piano.
Oh wow.
And yeah, sometimes in school, you know, when you're the bad kid, they kind of just kind of push you out and they don't want to teach you and they think that you're going to be left there and turn into nothing. But this teacher found something great within me and pulled me out and said, come in. So you guys sound like you have great people and teachers behind you who support what you do.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I hope there are a lot more people out there who have that, especially at this time because we need it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
especially.
I like this question because I feel like you guys are going to give me a really great answer for it. So it is, what is the best message that you have learned from a movie that has helped you in your lives today to change the way you think and feel and react towards people? It's a hard question.
Yeah.
Mm.
That is tricky.
All of us are
That's
just
a
like,
big
oh
one.
god.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a really good question, but I'm trying to like think back to all the films I've watched and something that's impacted me the most.
I'll give you some time.
There's a film called About Time, directed by Richard Curtis,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole premise of the film is about a guy who can go back in time and change things. And his sort of mission or goal in the film is to find love, and he goes on this massive journey to find this girl that he falls in love with, and they're really happy. But right at the very end of the film, there's the real sort of message of the film, which is that he would go through life and live every single day and just as like everyone else does, and then he would go back and relive every day twice, and the second time round he would do it, but he would enjoy every single moment in that day. And you sort of see that montage of him sort of going to a coffee shop and getting a coffee and smiling at them instead of just like, you know, looking at their phone or thinking about the million other things they've got to do in that day. Or sitting on the tube and you hear someone's music bleeding through and you're like, oh, you know, what are they doing? Why are they so annoying? And then instead the second time around, he's rocking out to the music and having a bit of fun with it. And he said, you know, instead of doing that, he said, why don't I just live every day like I do the second time round, and just enjoy all the moments while they last? And that was something that really stuck with me, I think. I think the film's a bit cheesy and very Richard Curtis in its design, very middle class and very kind of, I don't know,
A proper British film, I think.
romanticized idea of life. But that message, I think, is the thing that stuck with me, was that you've got to enjoy every moment and just appreciate the little things, because once they're gone, they're gone.
That's true.
It's true.
Who's next?
Oh, I definitely can't follow that.
I can see you guys thinking. You guys are talking. I can feel your brains ticking right now.
Yeah.
I feel like
To be
all the
fair,
film essays that we've done, I'm just trying to think of which one we've analysed
like
so
going
many
back to
films and so many films that stuck with you, and I'm like, I don't know. I think one that stuck with me, maybe it's because I was shown it quite young and it's kind of one of my mum's favourites. I think it's just a collection of films, a Barbra Streisand films, and it might be a weird thing to say that those films impacted me a lot, but I think films like Funny Girl and Yentl, which she directed as well as starred in, which was incredible. Her characters and the characters she helps portray in films are just unapologetically themselves, and they're content with it and they're happy with it. And I think I'm so used to judging myself against other people's standards that I forget what's good about me quite a lot of the time. I do suffer with mental health problems, and I think a lot of the time, it's like you watch things, you see people on social media and you wish you were that, and you're missing all the best parts of your own life. And just being happy with yourself, I think, is what she showed me, and so many people throughout film who have broken boundaries and kind of tried and done things differently, even though people said they shouldn't. And shows now like Pose, where they've shown stories that we don't show to help people. I think being able to show it's okay to be yourself, because there might be someone like you, but you are individual and you are unique, and be happy with that, I think, is what I've learned and what stuck with me. I'm still trying to live by it, but it's getting there. It's a slow process, but
everything with time.
Yeah.
What about you, Grace? You're the last one on our list.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's making me panic trying to think of something, but I think the first thing I kind of thought of was not particularly any films in general, just more, I don't know. I more think about like how I feel when I go to a cinema. Like I feel really like, like a weight has been off my shoulders. Like whatever I'm worrying about in life or whatever I'm going through, if I go to a cinema, it's pure, like you're escaping from it. You know, not that you need to escape from your life, but it's just so nice to be able to watch a film and just have that feeling and just feel like you're in it. Especially if, you know, like you're saying, it is teaching you a message, or, you know, it's something to learn from. It's really nice to have that. And I think whenever I watch a film, I'm like, I want to do that, especially with documentaries, because it's real. You know, I want to make these films so people sit in the cinema and they get that feeling of, you know, whatever the message is, either feeling of hope or feeling of sadness, or especially with documentaries, the feeling of, you know, reflection upon your life. Because I feel like our film is obviously about Ronel, but what she's saying, what she's going through, we really want people to watch it and be like, oh wow, like, can I forgive more in my life, or have I forgiven enough in my life? And I think that's what I like when I see a film. So I want to have that for people that watch my films. So rather than, because there is loads of films, but I think I'm panicking to think of one.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head there, Grace, because you said something that leads me on to my next question. So you were the right person to go last, and I'll explain why. So what is the hardest thing in your life that you've had to forgive, if you would like to share it, right? That you've had a huge belief about forgiveness that has made you do this project about forgiveness. Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to share with us about forgiveness? Because so many people say you should forgive and never forget, or you should forgive and forget. But what are your visions on forgiveness, and how has that helped you guys make this documentary?
So for me, there are two instances. I'll tell you two stories here. One of them is my first real instance of coming to terms with forgiveness, was when I was in primary school, and I was really close friends with the guy. And we were sort of play fighting in a kind of jokingly way, and it sort of got a little bit sort of too energetic, and I accidentally scratched him on his face. And
Cat fight.
Well, yeah, I guess it would have been a bit more scrappy than probably I remember in my head. It was probably more pathetic and slappy than it probably was an actual fight. But you know, it was a bit of fun in our eyes. But from that point onwards, this guy never really forgave me.
Oh.
And I couldn't get my head around that. I couldn't understand why. For me, it was a simple thing of a mistake that never really warranted that much of a reaction. But clearly to him, it was a big thing, and he really struggled with you know, and you know, we weren't friends from that point onwards. And it was a very odd thing. I never could quite get my head around that to this day. We still don't talk. And it was like, you know, that was something that really sort of shook me, because I never really understood that. On the flip side of that, something that I find really hard to forgive was sort of, things when you get much older in life, is people doing rather menial things, but they become much bigger in your mind when you think about them. I remember I did a film project for my local church, like the youth group, and we were filming. I did way too much, which is always my mistake. I do far more than I ever should. And I was filming a video every single day. So I made a video. It was a 5-day thing, and I've made 5 videos, and I would film all day of these kids running around and being super energetic and lots of smiles and stuff. And then I would edit it from like 9 o'clock through to like 3 in the morning. And then I would make it, and it would go up on the big screen at the beginning of the next day as like a highlights of the previous day before we started anything. And I would do that for a week. And by the end of the week, I was exhausted.
Tell me
and
about
absolutely completely burnt myself out. And then I saw the guy running it sort of taking bits of the videos that I made and cutting his own thing together that looked awful, because he didn't really know what he was doing and hadn't really done it properly. And hadn't he like asked me to do anything, he just done it. And I was so angry. I was just like, you could have got me to do it. It looks like it was something that I made because it's next to all of my videos. And then he took down all my videos and just had that left on the page, on the YouTube page. And I was there just like, all that work, all that energy, all that effort. And I was angry. And that was really a hard pill to swallow, with sort of, releasing ownership of something that is like your baby, which often, creatives feel that when something that they've created somehow gets distorted or used in a way that they never really thought would happen. And that was really hard. I remember when I first found out about it, I was like on the phone to my sister, and I was fuming. I was so angry. I was like, I actually need to just hang up the phone, because I can't, if I talk to you, I'm just going to lose it. But in relationship to the story that we're talking about, which is Ronel, it's such a minor thing. My forgiveness is so small and menial. That was what really inspired me towards this film, was just how she was able to even comprehend forgiving that. We'll go into that a little bit more, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Who wants to go next?
Which one?
Marnie.
Oh, damn it. We're going to keep on doing that this whole time. I know. We're just going to look at each other and go, your turn.
Sorry.
It's all right. The people have kind of always asked about forgiveness, and I've kind of had friends not understand. I think I take things really weirdly. I don't think I ever think I've forgiven. I just kind of forget. Like, I don't even try and forgive. I just go, it's happened, and I push it away. Like, people have always asked about, do you forgive your dad for leaving? And I'm like, well, it's no different to me. I didn't know anything else. And it's not, I don't think it's my place. It didn't hurt me. I think it hurt others more than myself. And there was this weird thing, like David said, I had like something so small can affect you a lot. I'm not sure if it was small. I was in secondary school, at like the beginning of secondary school, and I've always kind of been a bit of a loud person. I think everyone can agree with it. And just,
That's not a bad thing.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes people are just like, just shh, just for once, Martinique, just shut your mouth. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But I wasn't friends with a few people, and it got to the point of they made a hate group about me, and they had membership cards.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that had my name in a swastika, which I thought was a very I was like, oh,
That's an extreme.
That's an interesting style choice. And they would send me Facebook messages telling me to like kill myself and all this. And one of my classmates, we didn't get on, but he brought it up to the teachers and our head teacher, and they had to write me a letter, and they had to stand in front of me and like beg me for forgiveness. And I didn't really understand it. And I was kind of like, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, you've done it. You're sorry. Keep going. But I've never had anything where it's so horrific as what happened to Ronel or what other people have gone through. I just don't think I understand it. Like, I don't think I understand forgiveness. In like, people say you forgive someone, but I don't really understand what that means, and I don't think I ever have. I kind of just, you're always told just to get on with it, get on with your life, and pick yourself up and keep going. And I think that's been what I've done. And I've had it at uni. I've not realised I've been a bad person until someone's told me, and I apologise, but I never feel like it feels sincere. And they might think it is, or they might think I'm not. And I think forgiveness has been a difficult time for me. And I think that's why I'm fascinated with Ronel, because if something really bad happened to me, I don't think I could forgive any time ever, because I'm quite a stubborn person in my ways. And I think that's why I think there's a few people like me who think like that. And I kind of wanted to tell people her story, to be like, people see things differently and people forgive differently. And this is something I couldn't do, but I want to show people that there are people who are stronger willed than me that could do it. I think. Yeah, that's what. Yeah. I'll leave it there.
I really like that answer, the way you brought it forward, because you broke it down from things that have happened to you, how that's changed you as a person. Even though you say you're stubborn, you're a truthful stubborn person. There's a difference. There are stubborn people who deny that they're stubborn.
Yeah.
And then there are people who are stubborn, but they're honest with their stubbornness. And I think you're on the honesty side. So don't see it. This is just my opinion, okay? Don't see it as a bad thing. We all have stubbornness within us, but how we portray that to people says something else as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Grace.
Oh, well, to be fair, listening to Martinique, I completely agree with everything you said. Like, I think I've not particularly got something that I remember that I need to forgive. I just more a sense of like, it's human nature to forgive, but I feel everyone has a definition of forgiveness of their own, you know. I think I question some people's, you know, decisions, and I think, well, why are you that bothered or not that bothered? And then I'm confused. And I think more than anything, I'm the film which I'm hoping to learn from, and I hope other people who get to see the film learn from, is that everyone deals with things differently. Like, you don't realise that I could easily get over someone doing something to me where someone else could be extremely offended by it. And I think you have to go through life understanding other people's kind of wants and needs. Like, if they are offended by it, but you don't think they're offended, it's offensive, then you still need to respect what, you know, how they feel. Because I know I'm quite an honest person, so I think if I say something, I could be quite jokey, or I'll just say it, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, actually that might have been horrible, but I don't realise until someone says, you know, that's horrible. So I think that's the same with forgiveness. It's a thing where, like, you don't understand it until you experience it. And I truly believe that everyone, like, experiences forgiveness in different ways, because Ronel forgiving what happened to her sister, it's just, other people would definitely, myself as well, would be like, I couldn't do it, you know. I can't forgive my brother for nicking the last chocolate bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, let alone that. So it's just like, it's obviously completely different, but it's just like, I absolutely admire her for that. And it's this is why this story needs to be told, and why from her it needs to be told, because she's just like done something amazing, and all of us watching will probably be in awe of it. And I can imagine people watching the film, and I hope people will be in awe of her as well, because she is amazing for what she's done.
So that leads me to my next question, and I think you guys know what the next question is. Talk to me about the documentary. I don't want to give too much away because I want it to come from you guys. Talk to me about the documentary. Again, we spoke a little bit about forgiveness, so people are going to have kind of that inkling of what it's about. But I would like you guys, because it's coming from you, to express yourself on why you decided to go in this direction to do the documentary, how it all came about, and a little bit about the story so people can understand it even more.
I'd be interested if you guys go first on this one, and I'll maybe summarize at the end.
On you guys.
Oh, no.
It's always me that's answering this question.
But
you are the director, so
yeah, and the story did come from David. He was the one who brought it forward to us. When we were kind of looking at ideas of what to do, it was David's idea that came up, and we grabbed it as quickly as we could. I don't know how to explain it, because you sound so eloquent when you say it, and when I say it, it just sounds a bit weird. So,
David does describe it the best.
Yeah, so I don't.
All right, David.
Go on.
It looks like you. Okay, so
I see how it is.
Break it down for everyone of why you chose it. Why?
Sure.
Because there are so many things going on in the world, but you decided to pick this more than anything else.
Yeah.
Break it down for all the listeners to understand why you picked it, why you chose the team you're working with. Talk to me about the forgiveness within the story also, and the person who is telling the story, and what it means to them for you to be able to make this documentary so that they can be heard, because that also plays a big part in this from your point of view.
Sure. It's the way that I approach this film is it's a reflective documentary about forgiveness, and the whole aim of this film is for people to hear this story and look in on themselves and ask, if there's people in their own lives that they need to forgive. The story really is about Ronel's reaction to what happened to her sister. Ronel and her family all come from South Africa, and she's one of three sisters, and her mum, the two sisters and her mum still live out there. Ronel lives in the UK, and back in 2005, one of Ronel's sisters, 5 men went into her house, and they tied up her husband. They killed their dog, and they beat and tortured Ronel's sister. They wanted to know if there was a safe in the house. They were robbing the place, and they didn't have a safe, but they didn't believe them. They didn't believe that was possible. So they dragged her through the house, up and down stairs, and she was shot in the hip, and then they left. They took a TV and the rings on her fingers, jewelry that she was wearing, but nothing really, on the car, but that was it. And Ronel's mum was called, Ronel's sister called to the phone, and phoned her mum, and her mum came over, and she sort of got an ambulance there, but even when the ambulance arrived, they knew that there was nothing that they could do, and she passed away that evening. And the story sort of starts at that point, in that really painful story. But really, the bulk of the film is about what happens after that, and it's about Ronel in the UK. You know, she flies out to South Africa. She, you know, helps her mum with the preparations for the funeral, and it's all a bit crazy, and all this stuff's going on, and she can't really process what actually happens. But once all of that stuff is over and she flies back to the UK, it's from that point onwards where she can actually finally, once the dust is settled, process what happened to her sister. And for her, it's a journey of grief and pain and anger at the world, and you know, at you know, her faith. You know, is she really struggles with her faith. I think she always knew that it was not something that could ever be of God. It was a very evil thing that happened. But it, you know, in the church, we talk about forgiveness a lot. You know, it's in the Lord's Prayer and all sorts, and it's sort of talked about a lot. And that was something that she really struggled with. You know, that she's expected to forgive. That was just like, how can you ask that of me? You know, how is that possible? And she says something that's amazing. I find it hilarious. She said that she tried to Google it to find a different answer. And she was, you know, just trying to Google. I don't know what she typed into Google. I think that's a mystery in itself. But she Googled to find an answer that's different from having to forgive. But there was no other answer. She realized that this was going to be the only option for her if she wants this to finally be put to rest. And you know, a big part of her journey was that she was invited to go into prisons and tell her story to prisoners as part of a scheme, a program. And it's interesting because she didn't go in with the right reasons. She went in because she was like, great, I've got someone I can vent my anger at, frustration at. You know, she never found out who killed her sister. No one was ever caught or brought to justice. So this was her opportunity to do something. And, you know, a part of her journey was realizing that actually these people are just people. And, you know, forgiveness is drinking a poison and hurting yourself and expecting someone else to feel the pain. All you're doing is you're hurting yourself. And it sort of took her quite a while to realize that, I think, to realize that actually, if you want people to sort of, you know, if you don't want this to affect not just your own life, but the life of everyone around you, then you have to move on. You have to not forget, but you have to forgive. And that's kind of the point of this film, really, is to sort of see how and why and challenge that. You know, how could she possibly have got to the place that she's got to? So yeah, that's the story. That's the film.
I must admit, David, I understand why you are a director now.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it? I don't know if you guys can see it, but when somebody is telling you a story and you can see the compassion that they have within that story and the reason why they chose it and the emotion that they put into it, I understand why you guys have done this. I understand why you guys are a team. And I believe sometimes in life you are brought together to make something happen, because it could have been any 3 people or 6 people, I should say, because you're all a team. And I know you're not all on today, but you're all a team. But it could have been any 6 people. But you guys have been brought together to tell this story in the best way you know possible. And I think this will do really well. And I'm glad that you have given me the compassion to have you on the show to be able to tell that story. So thank you guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, you're most welcome. From hearing that, I understand why. Grace or Martinique, do you guys have anything to say about the story?
I thought she was going to say something then.
Your response to it, like your connection to it.
Well, when we first heard the story, when we were going through the pitching process of doing these films, when I first heard it, it sounded like something you would never hear, something that would be fictional, someone being able to forgive and help others forgive and be that type of person. And I was fascinated with it. And when we've been able to share her story so far with people, and I've shared it with my family, we're all on the same boat as, oh, we can never forgive that. I don't think I could ever do that. I wouldn't be able to do what she does. And I think it's fascinating to hear someone do that and be able to help others, and allowing us to make a film about it to then help more than we could normally reach just by telling the story in person, I think is truly remarkable. And having David be able to tell the story and get so many of us involved in it is remarkable. And I'm just happy to work on it. I don't really know what else to say about it. I've never seen David direct, but so far when he has been directing us, you can tell he's so passionate about the project, and it's brought passion onto all of us to make it as well. And I don't think there could be other people. Now that we've looked at her story, gone into it, delved into research on it, there's a connection between our whole crew in it that I think's unique and personal, and we all see it differently. And I think that's what's going to make it such an amazing film to see. Just everyone's personal experiences and how we've coped with stuff in our lives to show someone who is different than anyone else I've ever met, I think is quite fascinating.
Sounds good. Grace, do you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, well,
from your perspective?
I totally agree with Martinique as well, and with David. Like the same thing. I've shown like my family, like her story and like some of the like trailers we've made already, and yeah, they're all like, I can do it. So yeah, just having that as well just proves how much this story will impact people, and hopes anyway. But yeah, I think the reason, the main thing that got me when I started like joined the team was David played me an audio of what she says in one of our trailers on our crowdfunder page. She just, how she tells a story, like obviously the story that David just said, like that is, you know, that pulls at the heartstring as it is, but the way she said it was just, you couldn't even get like the best actress to like say that scripted, the way she said it. And it just like, I don't know if David remembers, but we was on a video call, and I was just like, I kept closing my eyes because I could just feel her pain, and I was just really like, yeah, this is a true story, and this is you can just hear it in her voice, and it really like made me feel like, yeah, I can't ignore this. I have to help her, like, you know, get her story out there, and you know what she's saying is making me realize a lot of things within myself. So if we can do that for other people, I just think it will just be an amazing film. Just because of her mainly, she's just such a really good like person to have it about. You know, like she's making the documentary 100%. She's the core of the film.
How do you guys feel about human rights and how people are treated, especially when it comes to your documentary? Again, because we've got so much going on in the world, how do you feel that you've used your talent to show people that you can't just abuse people, murder them in that way, and then go away free and think that it's okay? In any aspect of it, it could be what you guys are doing now, it could be what you guys are doing in the future with your projects. But how do you feel human rights plays a big part in what you guys are doing?
That's really interesting, actually. I kind of like not even thought about it that way, but now you've mentioned it, it's made me realize that that is actually what it is. Like, Ronel wasn't personally attacked or harmed, but really her life has been harmed by this action. You know, she's not physically hurt, but mentally for the rest of her life, she's going to be affected by what these people did. So, yeah, it's actually just made me realize that it is a human. You know, like I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know, David, do you have any points?
Yeah, I mean, when I was developing this film, which was over lockdown over the summer, I was looking at restorative justice, and I was looking at the other side of this, which is not the victim side, but the prisoner's side. And you realize that with people, you know, who do wrong, if you don't help them, they'll get caught in this cycle. And it's, you know, for a lot of people, it can be anything, but people are caught in a cycle. Say, for example, with Ronel, with what happened to her and her sister, she was caught in a cycle of grief and pain and the inability to see past that. But for the people in prison, it was a cycle of, causing a crime or inflicting pain on others, and that hurting themselves and damaging themselves, going into prison, coming out of prison, still with none of that dealt with, reoffending and going back in again. And nothing would change from that without some level of behavioral or attitude change or shift, some really serious change. And for them, it was something about talking to victims and hearing the victim side of the story, and for just sharing Ronel's story. People were the criminals were hearing the victims that they had afflicted, whatever their crime was. That they could hear their own stories within that. And for a lot of people, that can be a real change in them, and understanding that one person's actions creates a ripple effect across many people. And something seriously big has to change in order to get yourself out, to break that cycle. And for Ronel, breaking that cycle was forgiving, and that was part of her healing. And now her going into prison is trying to help them break a much bigger cycle, which is reoffending rates of criminals. And yeah, that was a really great way to look at this film, because it showed me the prisoner side. It showed me a much bigger issue. And then I drilled down into one person's story, focusing on a victim, and then looking at that and trying to sort of help share this message to help many people. That's my aim. So, yeah.
What about the rest of you guys? What would you like people to take away from this documentary? I know David said he would like to show people, help people understand about forgiveness and so on and so forth, but also you guys, Martinique and Grace as well. What would you, in your personal view, like people to take away from this documentary so that they can learn and then pass that on. Because it's a ripple effect. Once we learn something, we talk about it. When we talk about it, somebody else knows. They go off and tell 10 other people. That one person tells another 10 people. And that's how things escalate and go around the world quickly. What would you like people to know about this documentary or even learn from it in just your opinions? I like the way they both look at each other like, you go. You go.
Okay. Well, I think we keep on doing it. We're like, who's going? Which one of us?
Yeah, I don't want to speak over anyone.
I know, it's that weird thing of like, oh, sorry, the very British manner, isn't it? Well, with the film, I think with documentaries especially, in recent years, documentaries have been able to tell a story of a person, like a human experience, and no matter what, it will impact people. I think I just want people to realize what else is happening in the world that might not be happening directly to you, but happening to others. And I think documentaries that have done that recently, especially with prisoners and human rights, things like the Innocence Project, kind of telling people about wrongful convictions and people trying to help and try and make a difference, and it's spreading awareness of even by yourself you can impact and you can change other people's lives. And Ronel's story, how she can go and tell prisoners her story, I think will have similar effects to people who aren't prisoners or haven't been in the position, and they're being told the story as well, which will make them think about what they can do in their lives and reflect in their lives. And I'm going to sound like such a film student right now. There was a book that we read at university, and these two might sigh when I say it, but it's called The Ways of Seeing by John Berger. And we had to look at it.
I knew you were going to say that.
You knew it. Because I keep on going back to that book with any story where it's all about your own experiences, and when you watch something, you put yourself into the story and it will help you. It's almost like a different type of therapy and escapism for people to think, if I was in this position, what could I do? And yes, I might not be able to do what Ronel did, and that might be a good bit of reflection for me to look upon. Maybe I could be like Ronel, maybe I could volunteer and help others, because the only way the world's going to get better is if we in ourselves make it better. You don't have to make a global impact, but quite a small impact will have the same effect as changing a law. Helping a person will still ripple out onto the world and make it better. I think that's what Ronel's story is so clever and so impactful, because she can help one person, she's changed the world. And if we can help others see the same story and then them bring it forward and give good karma out there, then hopefully the world will get better. It's not going to be a quick solution, but it might be a morally good solution. So, yeah.
That's a really good answer.
Thanks.
That's definitely it. Grace, do you want to add to anything?
Honestly, I don't think she could have said it better, because she's right. You know, like I completely agree. If anything, I would have said the same. It is something that, you know, we've learned from just hearing her story already. And I think the good she's doing, like Ronel is doing, to, you know, seeing the prisoners and talking to them, I hope that we can learn from her and do the same. But in our version, it's making a film and, you know, showing people our film. So yeah, I completely agree with Martinique. Like, it is hopefully something that people will self-reflect, you know, because it's, I feel like obviously films are for entertainment purposes, but, you know, documentaries, you know, watching a real life story makes you then be like, oh wow, like, you know, that's real. And then you do look within yourself after you watch a documentary or a film in general. You look within yourself and you think, well, do I do that? So yeah, definitely my hope is to affect people to question their lives and people around them, and as Martinique said, like, make a small effect on the close people around them, and yeah, ripple to other people as well.
Definitely, that sounds good to me. You guys are doing a great job. I've got a few more for you. So my next question for you guys is, what are you most proud of that you stand for as individuals, but also as a team?
Oh, that's difficult.
Oh my gosh, I wish everybody could see you guys right now. Your brains are ticking.
It sounds like we don't stand
The
for
clocks are
anything.
going. It's like, keep going. I'm yeah, it's that feeling of going, oh God, what am I going to say? I want to help people in any way I can. And I think I'm not in London, but when I am in London, I like going to rallies and protests and kind of standing up for things I believe in and morally helping people, and going to recently the Black Lives Matter protest, but before I went to one in London, it was a year or so ago, about the gay rights in Brunei, and we went to where the Sultan, he owns the building, and I went with drag queens and we kind of helped tell the story and kind of push it out there. And I love pushing out people's stories and helping people and be a platform, be a stepping stone for them. And I think that's what I'm trying to get out of the film as well, be another boost up for someone to be like, this is a morally good person. Please look at this, and kind of see it in yourself to help them. And they might help you in a small way that you might not have realized yet.
That's true.
Yeah. I think there's a point there, which is something that I think all of us will agree on, is that we love to use our skills, our abilities to help push other people's voices out there. And, our skill is in filmmaking and storytelling. People focusing on, really important issues and telling that through empathizing with people in stories. And, there are so many amazing people out there who have such incredible stories to tell. And we are using our gifts that we have and the things that we're training for as students, and we're wanting to share that with people and get those voices heard. We're bringing a voice to a victim, and that's so powerful. And that's something that I think all of us want to do more of in the future, whatever victim that is or whatever person we're speaking to. Yeah.
I think you guys should become activists in some kind of way.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should be. Everyone should be activists in some kind of way.
Everyone should be.
Yeah. I'm an activist of peace. I think that's what I am. I don't like seeing anyone being bullied by anyone. If you're being bullied, you better look behind you, because Saviox is most probably there. Because I know how it feels to be bullied, and it's not nice. You grow up with this stigma thinking you're not worth anything, when you're most probably the one who is worth the most. And the reason why people bully you is because they see something in you that they wish they had within themselves. So what you guys are doing is, like I say, I'm going to keep on saying this because it's a ripple effect. You have positive people around you, you'll have that positive energy and it will ripple around you. What's the best advice you guys have ever received from someone? Oh, I love the faces. I'm going to take a picture of this afterwards.
Oh, wow, that's hard. I think my mum always used to say to me that if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all. I always remember that.
I love
She's
that
always
saying.
said that. Yeah, and I think as well, like, my mum's really good at like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, say if I've had an argument, say with my friend or something, she'll be like, yeah, but take it from their side of the story. How do they feel? They might be having a rough day, and when all you're thinking in the moment is like, no, I'm annoyed. Like, what about me? But it's really, I think I always try to take a step back and think, okay, right, they might be having a bad day, they might be going through something, like that's why they've acted like that. So I think it's really good not to act on quick decisions, because I think I do that quite often. I kind of think of something and I just do it, or I'll just say it and I just think, no, I probably should have taken a second and thought about it. So yeah, my mum saying that to me has made me realise that I need to like remember people, you know, think differently and act differently. So just reflect on how they could be, because, you know, everyone has a point in their life where they get really annoyed and they'll scream and shout, and then afterwards they instantly regret it and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But, you know, maybe if you understand why they did that more, you'd be able to resolve that problem, rather than just both thinking about your side and, yeah, but I'm right. And then it's never gonna, you know, and that is kind of forgiveness in a way, and just more just understanding each other than just being selfish on your behalf.
What about the rest of you guys?
I think one that I was told and I live by now is if I get worked up, or if I'm stressed, or I think nothing's going right, just stop. Just stop for a second. Stop. Be quiet. Rest yourself and think, because I think in a lot of actions that people do, we don't realize our actions have like impacts and reactions. And if you just stop for a minute and think about what's happening around you, why is it happening, and then pushing that forward and going, okay, I just need a minute. Okay, this day's not the best day, but it's not my worst day. And if I can get through this, I can get through anything. And I think I was shown that at school. I was shown that through my mum. I've been shown it at university when I've had breakdowns to lecturers, which they don't really need. They're stressed enough as it is. And it's just the moment of just stop, listen to what you're saying, think about what you're saying, and reflect, because I don't think people reflect enough on what's happening around them. And something might seem huge right now, but in a year, in a week, in a day, in an hour, it might not seem like anything. And you can't let that hold you back, and you can't let that affect everything that's going on around you and everyone around you. So it's a bit of advice I always stick by now.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Always a new day,
Definitely
isn't
sounds
there?
good to me.
Always tomorrow. There's always, you know, a second chance. You know, you can retry what you've just failed.
It's amazing because some people don't get that second chance or that second day. So the fact that we do shows that we're lucky in the aspects of things. Here's a question that I wanted to ask you guys. I've only got 2 more for you, but my second, you guys are young, yeah? You guys have got your head screwed on too, yeah? But I would love to hear your answer now, and then in 10 years' time also hear your answer for this one. What would you guys like your legacy to be, when you feel like you're done in the world and you've done enough, and you either retiring or you decide that's it? How would you like people to think and feel about you or know of you when you're done in what you're doing, whatever direction you guys go in?
I think so. My granddad passed away about a year ago, and I had a lot to think about that when he passed away, because it was sort of, you know, what did he leave us with? What was his legacy? And, you know, he was such an inspiring person for me. So what can I take from that and bring that forward in my life? And I think the big things for me were that he was a gentle man, you know, not just a gentleman, but he was a gentle man. And that, you know, he could be stern and tell you off when you're doing things wrong, but, you know, he can also have that softness and that understanding and that compassion, to look beyond the actions that you did, but the situation you're in. And the other thing was that he used the gifts that he had to the best of his ability, to help as many people as he could. You know, it's about using what you have as much as you possibly can. And if that's, for me, my music and, you know, my film making ability, then that's what I can do. That's what I'm good at. So, you know, I'm using my strengths to help people as much as I can. Yeah.
Cool. Go on, guys.
I would say I want to have the same effect that other filmmakers have had on me. I want to be able to help inspire, and films have been an escape. They always have, and they always will be for me, and it's amazing what they can do for you and how they can amplify a voice and help others through things. And I just want to help others through things, even if it's for like a day, even if I can just help someone like cross a road, that's still helping someone. And with my films, I want people to remember them, and I want them to think, I want one person, just one, if they ever have to answer the question, like, why do you do what you do, to my name to be somewhere in the list of people that they go, well, this person did it and I wanted to do what they do, and then they help someone else, and it be, again, another ripple effect. I want to be, it sounds weird to say, but I want to be remembered, and I want it to be good for good things, not bad things. And if I can help others with films the way they helped me, then I know that going after my dreams is worth it, I guess. Yeah.
I agree there. Grace?
Yeah, no, I agree as well. I think we're really lucky because, you know, we're learning we're learning to make films. And I think it's such a huge thing that we can use. For example, yourself with podcasts, like it's something you can use to help people. And I think we're really lucky that we're learning something that will help people, but we're not physically there. We're not physically helping them, but like mentally we could be helping them, or they might be having a down day. I know I have my favourite films. If I'm got a bit of a cold and I don't feel well, I'll watch some childhood films that make me feel better, you know? So I think, yeah, just us being able to have that, definitely. And I think a main thing I would definitely always want to, if I was to leave and I'd want to leave behind, is just to have fun every day. Like I'm always like trying to make people laugh and trying to have good time. And I think, like, not to do with film even, that people would look back and be like, she was funny. She always had fun. Like it was always a party when Grace was around. So yeah, I really hope that I do that. So I try to be positive in everything I do, and, you know, lift the spirits of people around us. And just look back and be like, she had a good time.
That sounds good to me too.
Yeah.
My last for you guys is I want you guys to get as much sponsorship as possible for this.
Thank
So
you.
please, when I say this, plug as much as you like. Guys, I say this to everyone. Plug as much as you like. Where can we find you to sponsor you? Where can we find all your social medias? What's your email if anybody would like to contact you and you're happy to share that?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, please plug away.
Okay. Do you want me to do that, guys?
Go on, go for it,
Yes.
Grace.
Okay, cool. So our film is called Ronel, and we are fundraising for our film on Crowdfunder. So if you search www.crowdfunder.co.uk/Ronel, you will find our page there. We are currently in fundraising for a month. I think we have about 25 days left. We're doing quite well. We're almost there. Just need like a little bit more support, and we really appreciate anything. Even if it's £2, £5, £10, or £100, you know, whatever you can give. And if you can't give any money, then sharing our social media. So our Instagram is Ronel Documentary, and our Facebook is the same as well, at Ronel Documentary. Just sharing, or, you know, just supporting, liking our stuff. It really helps us out so much. We've us three have all been at AUB for 4 years now, and I think this is our first big jump into the industry, and having this film is really gonna give us a big jump into the industry, hopefully, and helping is so great. Also, if anyone that is listening is interested in any of the films that we are making at AUB, if you wanted to see any of the other films and support those, it's also on www.crowdfunder.co.uk/BFS Film Funder. There's a few other films on there that we're all working on as well. And to share that would be really great. You know, as we're students, as I said, we're starting off quite early, so we're ready to get going and get ourselves into the industry now.
Anyone else want to plug?
I mean, sure. My Instagram is on there. It's David Clode Film. It's like my @Instagram. But it's have a look. As Grace said, have a look at our crowdfunder page, and also have a look at some of the others, because there are some other amazing stories out there as well. Not just documentaries, but also fictions. And we're having to crowdfund in a pandemic and just before Christmas, so money is tight, and we can't do all the events or the things we would usually do on other years. So we're relying much more heavily on donations and support to get our word out there and stuff. So yeah, if it's just sharing, that's also really, really appreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Do you want to say anything also?
Yeah, I think what I'll say is I don't have a film account. I'm not that prepared. I'm just I'm not like that. I would just say if you don't support our film or any of our uni films, in areas you are in, there's always a film being made, and they always need help. And even if it is just sharing a page or liking their content, a little goes a long way, especially for independent films. And I think if you can help any film or any art thing or any podcast, like if you follow this podcast, follow others, and I think you don't realize.
I like that.
You don't realize. Sorry, my cat has just climbed on the table. She wants to be on the podcast.
I don't mind.
She just keeps on climbing back on the table. Stop it. If you can help any arts, especially in the time we're in right now, because the arts are kind of pushed to the side, because
that's true,
they're not seen as real jobs right now. If you can help any artist in any form or medium, please do, because we all need it. And it's quite nice to know that we have support. So, yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
That's actually a really nice way to actually the podcast. That's actually a really nice way. Oh, hey, Kat.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh my God, she's old.
The Kat podcast.
Yeah, she's on the podcast. There you go. Happy? Probably can hear a purr on the mic. There you go. You go, buddy. Happy now. Oh, jeez. Oh. She was hiding for so long.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Martinique, Grace, and David. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the Yes People podcast and sharing your story, not just with me, but with so many other people. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome anytime. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And please remember you can subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Us People podcast by simply going on the Savia Rocks website or just typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
I was so nervous, I don't know why, but I really was. But no, I loved it. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, thank you so much. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed myself.